Part 2. Thank you so much for staying with us. Thank you for participating in our educational vendors and food and that opportunity to socialize and still while we're still learning more about elder fraud. Again, my name is Dr. Tanae Morrison, and I am a member of Pilgrim Rest and a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And we're so glad that you're here. We want to begin with a safety briefing, so we're going to have our ERT team come right now with a safety announcement. Ms. Amelia Dorsey.
Hello and welcome everyone to Pilgrim Rest and Sanctuary for our panel discussion. I have a brief safety announcement before we begin. Please take a quick moment to note the exits in this area. There are 4 main exit doors behind you and 1 to my right. Please use the one closest to you if we need to evacuate. The restrooms are located just outside the main doors to your right. Please remember to follow the instructions of the women in red shirts and black bottoms if an evacuation becomes necessary. Thank you and enjoy.
Safety is always important to us, so we want to make sure you are fully informed. Again, welcome to our Elder Fraud Workshop. I'm just so delighted that you all have joined us today. We hope that you have already been immersed in conversation and education on this very important topic. And we're going to go a little further. I am so excited about this panel discussion because there's so much going on in the world today related to scams and fraud. I was sharing with Pilgrim Rest that on last year in the U.S., there was $3.4 billion worth of fraud committed towards our elder and senior populations. So there is a lot for us to learn, a lot for us to know, and we need to raise our awareness. It is my pleasure to introduce the representative from Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, our Vice President, Mrs. Kenyosha Skinner. Can you give her a hand as she comes to bring our welcome?
Thank you, Dr. Morrison. Good afternoon. Thank you for taking time out of your beautiful Saturday to be with us here today. As she stated, my name is Kenyosha Skinner, and I'm the Vice President of this wonderful award-winning chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And today, I come and bring greetings on behalf of our president, Ms. Keisha L. Tatum, who could not be with us today because she's at a leadership retreat. Making us, again, the award-winning Tippy Alumni Chapter. So, on behalf of Soror Tatum, Ms. Tatum, I wanted to just welcome you all to our Fraud Awareness Workshop. And for those who are a little unsure of who we are, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a public service organization, and we were founded on January 13th, 1913, by 22 collegiate women on the campus of Howard University. And for the past 112 years, excuse me, our work has remained focused and firmly rooted in sisterhood, academic excellence, service to the underserved, and social issues that specifically impact the Black community, which is why we're here today. So the Tempe Alumni Chapter is one of more than 1,000 chapters globally that serves, excuse me, our communities worldwide. So we're proud to serve the East Valley communities, including the city of Phoenix. So today we are especially proud to bring you this workshop addressing the critical issue of fraud and scams that are targeting our seniors. And this concern continues to grow and impact communities nationwide. So thank you again for being here to gather important information and to hear from the experts in our community to help us target and address this longstanding issue. So again, thank you to Dr. Morrison and Ms. Tasha Hampton for leading the 2 committees in our chapter that have worked tirelessly over this past year to plan for this program. So I want to bring back Dr. Morrison, who will then work with Ms. Hampton to address and introduce our panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Skinner. Again, we are just delighted for you to be here, and we're ready to get into this conversation. I'd like to bring up our moderator for the day. I'd like to introduce you to Miss Latasha Hampton. Latasha Hampton is a retired Tempe police sergeant. She served for 23 years and 8 months, down to the month, serving our community. Latasha is currently the president of the Arizona Black Law Enforcement Employees for the last 4 years, and she is the chair of our Committee on Social Action here in our Tempe Alumni chapter, and she is co-sponsored this event with us and has worked hard to bring this to you. She is our moderator for the day. Can you give Ms. Hampton a hand as she comes?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. She doesn't understand how much that 8 months mean. I had to put in every hour. All right. Well, thank you so much for that introduction, Dr. Morrison. And it is my absolute pleasure to be your moderator this afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone, both in person and online, because this is being streamed to those who are not here, who could not make it here, because we want to meet you where you're at. So good afternoon to you as well. It's a powerful sight to see the community gathered here today. As Dr. Morrison stated, I recently retired from the Tempe Police Department in April of 2025. I just retired. During my decades on the front line, I saw firsthand the devastating financial, emotional, and psychological impact of crimes, especially those targeting our most respected citizens, our elders. We are here today to turn that awareness into collective action, defense, and protection. This is a critical conversation about protecting our elders from financial exploitation and fraud, a crime that impacts thousands of Arizonans every day. Today, we have gathered an incredible panel of experts representing key areas of defense, enforcement, and advocacy. Please join me in welcoming our esteemed panelists. First, joining us from the American Association of Retired Persons, AARP, we have Ms. Brenda Holt, Associate State Director for Outreach and Advocacy. Next, we have representing the Phoenix Police Department Financial Crimes Detail and coming with over 27 years of experience, we have Detective Kelly McGee. In addition to that, we have another representative from the Phoenix Police Department coming with 21 years of experience, Detective Sidney Price. We are also joined by Ms. Sophie Brenham. Did I say that correct? Braham, thank you. That's what I want to make sure. Director of Community Engagement and Special Projects from the Arizona Attorney General's Office. And finally, representing the judicial process from the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, White Collar Cyber Crimes Bureau, we have Ms. Mary Harris, Deputy County Attorney. So as you can see, we have a lot of experience, all right? So thank you all for being here. Let's begin our discussion. Before we start, I have a quick note for our panelists, okay? While some questions will be targeted at a specific person, if any of the other panelists have relevant experience or insight to offer, please feel free to jump in and contribute to the discussion. To ensure we cover all topics and save time for the audience, please try to limit your answers to 2 to 3 minutes. Our first question, that's what y'all ready to get. All right, this first question is for Ms. Brenda Holt, in addition to Ms. Sophie Braham from the Arizona Attorney General's Office. We've seen chilling headlines about the new face of fraud, especially with reports from the Arizona Attorney General's Office concerning the frightening use of artificial intelligence, AI, to clone voices in grandparent scams. The FBI notes that older adults lost a reported $3.4 billion to scammers in 2023 alone. These tech-related frauds are surging. Ms. Holt, as AARP has been a long advocate for senior safety, what resources, programs, or partnership does AARP offer to help older adults stay ahead of these increasing sophisticated, emerging technology scams, particularly those involving AI and voice cloning.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having us here today. ARP has a Fraud Watch Network Resource Center where we focus strictly on fraud and the aspect of fraud. We are able to take in information from people like you in the audience who report to us some of the scams that you've experienced, and we can also tell you some of the scams that are taking place. When you get time, go to aarp.org, Fraud Watch Network. You should have received, some of our Fraud Watch, the handbook. This has a lot of information in it as well. Regarding AI, we know that we are in the beginning stages of AI. This is just getting started. If it doesn't feel right, you need to question. As good as AI is as bad as AI is. And we understand that they're cloning voices. We're understanding that they're impersonating various entities. Talk to other people before you give away information. Again, if it does not feel right, chances are it is not. So ARP is working on your behalf to make sure that you are aware of some of the latest scams. And we're probably going to talk about this today. I have partnered with most of the panel as far as making sure that we know what's going on when it comes to fraud as well as they do. They're the experts. ARP is an expert in the area, but we are here as your resource so that you don't get scammed.
And let's go ahead and continue that with Ms. Braham. From the AG's perspective, what means or methods does your office utilize or currently developing to track and prevent these AI-driven scams in Arizona? And how are you working with the community on this threat?
Yeah, so thank you all for being here. Thank you for having me. So we do have some ability in law enforcement to track some of the money. However, as I will let definitely my law enforcement experts get into, if it leaves the country or certain other aspects, like it's much harder to track. But like I said, we do have ways to keep an eye on where the money is going. We actually use some of that tracking to base where we're going to do our Elder Scams town halls. If you've seen the news or any of the AG's social media, you'll know she's done Elder Scams town halls all over Arizona, and we often base where we go based on if we see like millions of dollars going from one city to somewhere in Africa or something, because we know that means there's like an uptick of some sort of scam in that area. And so we'll go there just to make sure that community knows what to look for, what's popular, what's really popping off. Additionally, we do live scam updates as things happen. For example, we had that big storm a week or two ago, and we immediately put out a reminder that people will take advantage of you in these times with fraudulent roof fixing scams or storm cleanup scams. So keeping an eye on our social media is another good way to know what's going on. And then additionally, in the community engagement department, which I run, we do consumer scams trainings for any size group anywhere in the valley all the time. So if you want to request one of those presentations, they're great, wonderful. I know Brenda and her team do them too. Lots of different organizations do them. Request them from one of us. That's a really good way to kind of regularly be reminded on what you need to do to avoid these scams.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. Does anyone else want to contribute to that question? All right. Well, thank you so much. Knowing where to find these proactive resources, Ms. Holt, and having the insight of enforcement and tracking efforts from the Attorney General's office gives our audience a comprehensive view of a fast-moving challenge that we have with AI. It is constantly changing. So just staying abreast of what's happening will help you.
Actually, one more thing. I do want to underline one thing Ms. Holt said. Not every scammer is looking for money. Some of them are looking for information. You don't want to give them either. Not your address, not your social security number, not your phone number, nothing. While it's maybe more harmful to lose money, don't give them anything.
Especially that, because that will lead us into identity theft. So we're going to move on to our next question, which will fall in line with those, okay? The next question is for the Phoenix Police Department, Detectives McGee and Price. As we approach the end of the year, we know that the holiday season often sees a spike in fraud, with criminals exploiting their generosity through imposter and charity scams. A recent report indicates that in 2024, the median loss for victims in their 70s was $1,000. This is a time of increased vulnerability. Detectives, based on what the Phoenix Police Department has seen on the ground, what is the most common and destructive scam currently targeting our seniors, especially imposter scams? And what are the top 3 crucial warning signs attendees should immediately look for in an unexpected call, email, or text?
Good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you here this afternoon. 2 of the most destructive things that we see are the cryptocurrency scams as well as unsolicited contract scams. These can cover a vast amount of scams. They're due to impersonating government, entities, bank representatives, notifications of packages, and then fines that are being assessed to victims as well. I want to kind of walk you through some of the things that we see when we're investigating cryptocurrency, okay? These are probably like the top 3 that we see. Begin with the individual be contacted, the victim may be contacted by someone who's stating, hey, my grandson or granddaughter is in jail and they need money to get them out, okay? We see that quite a bit, and majority of the time we see them and they're contacted over the phone, okay? What they'll do is they'll ask the victim to basically go to the bank, pull out large amounts of cash and deposit it into a Bitcoin ATM, okay? So we see that quite a bit. One way that you can overcome this is simply reaching out to that grandson or that granddaughter to say, hey, are you okay? Were you in jail? Have you been in jail? That type of thing. What the imposter, the fraudster, will try to do is to keep you on the phone and create that sense of urgency. They don't want you to take that step of contacting your relative because you're simply going to put an end to it, okay? So keep that in mind, that if they're putting that pressure on you, hey, this has to happen now, think in the back of your mind, hey, this probably isn't on the up and up. So that's one way that you can kind of combat that. Say, okay, well, thank you so much for the information. I'll get back to you. And you can simply reach out to that family member. Another thing that we see is you're once again contacted, text, internet, oftentimes over the phone, and they'll state to you, hey, you've got a warrant for your arrest because you missed jury duty, okay? Just think in the back of your mind, well, was I scheduled for jury duty? Once again, they try to create that sense of urgency, and it's the same thing that they want to play out. They want you to go to the bank, they want you to pull a large amount of cash, and they want you to go to that Bitcoin cryptocurrency ATM and deposit those funds, okay? So just stop and think, did I have jury duty even scheduled? And so take that time to just stop and pause, okay? Another thing that we see is you'll be on the internet, okay? You'll see a pop-up, Microsoft pop-up on there, and it sounds like someone's possibly experienced this. You'll see that pop-up and you'll be directed, hey, give this phone number a call, okay? It'll go to someone who's portraying a representative of Microsoft, and they'll say, hey, listen, your account's been compromised. You should talk to your bank representative. They'll transfer you to someone. Once again, that person is posing as a bank representative. And in my experience, the victim is told that, hey, in order to safeguard your money, you need to once again pull it from your bank account, deposit it into a Bitcoin ATM, okay? And once again, it's a common denominator that they create this sense of urgency, okay? They like to keep you on the phone. I've received reports where they said, hey, you'll go into the bank, they'll be on the phone with this imposter, okay? Withdrawing the funds from the bank, and they'll say, hey, don't tell the bank representative what you're withdrawing the funds for, okay? They'll continue to keep them on the bank, or on the phone, excuse me. They'll give them directions of the Bitcoin ATM where they need to drive to in order to make those deposits. Now, we've also spoken to victims who are like, I don't know anything about cryptocurrency. How do they expect me to not just make the withdrawal, but make the deposit into the bank or into the Bitcoin ATM? They will walk you through that, okay? They will send you a QR code. We've also gotten information that they will simply give you a phone number, and that's what you input into the ATM in order to direct the funds, the cash that you put in, okay? So just stop and think. The government is never going to ask you, in the case of you missing jury duty, we're never going to ask you for any cash to take care of that or resolve that, okay? So just stop and think. If they're really pushing it, hey, keep me on the phone. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell your family members. Don't tell the bank representative. Just think in the back of your mind, hey, this might not be legitimate or on the up and up. Because once those funds are deposited into the Bitcoin cryptocurrency ATM, it is very difficult for us to not just trace it, but in order to get those funds back, okay? So we just urge people just to kind of stop and think, hey, is this really something? Let me give a call to my relative. You know, did I have jury duty scheduled? Did it slip my mind? Different things like that, okay? In the scenario, the last one I went over with the pop-up menu and everything, that's something where you should obviously pause, but then get your computer, get it checked out. Because in all likelihood, there's like a virus or something. It's compromised in some form or fashion on there, okay?
Outstanding.
And then I'll just kind of change up a little bit. I want you to change your frame of mind. The victims of our senior generations, of course, are targets, but that doesn't end at one generation. The concept of everyone is honest and people's word holds some value, I want you to change that a little bit. I want you to be a little more skeptic of the people who reach out to you. Criminals want you to trust them, and they're really good at making you trust them. They're really good at manipulating you over the phone or text, maybe even putting a little bit of fear in you. I want you to be polite, but I want you to ignore them. I want you to delete them, and I want you to hang up on them, okay? I want you also to take your frame of mind and think of this. No money until I get a cup of coffee out you. If I can't have a cup of coffee with you or a cup of tea with you, you get no money from me. No cream, no sugar, no money. Yeah. So I want you to keep that in your mind when you're talking to them, right? Change that mindset a little bit for me. The last little statement I'll put on here, charity is important, okay? I think it's important. I think most of us who are sitting here think charity is important. I want you to begin your charity giving with you controlling it. You identify who you want your hard money to go to and allocate it out. And when they call you, say, oh, I've already given all my charity money. No more, sorry. Click, right? And by the way, did you have a cup of coffee? Nope. Okay, see you later. Okay? So just change your mind a little bit on that, okay? And that'll end for me.
Because they can just say they're from a charity, take your money, and not give it to that charity.
And if I could add a little bit just on the cryptocurrency scenarios that I went over, the first one that I touched on where you're contacted by someone who's stating that, hey, your grandson, your granddaughter, they'll actually state, oh, hey, let me put them on the phone, you know, or you'll initially get a call from someone who's portraying your grandson or granddaughter. That's where the AI factor comes into place, because we've been told by victims that those individuals that get on the phone, they sound just like your grandson or granddaughter, okay? But once again, take a pause and reach out to that other family who could know and maybe shed some light. Hey, did so-and-so, are they out of town? You know, have you heard that they've been, you know, involved in something that they're in jail? So just take that time, but that's where the AI comes into place. We've definitely spoken and heard from victims, hey, this sounded just like my family member. So just something to keep a lookout for.
Outstanding. So what you got to know is if you know the criminal's playbook, then you can beat them at their own game. And that's why we're here.
And
All right?
I want to piggyback off of that as well. We tell people to get a password or a secret code. So if that grandchild calls you, they should know the code. If they don't know that code, then you know chances are it's a scam. Regarding charities, you can verify the charities. Go to give.org and charitywatch.org to find out if your charities are legitimate. This is also open enrollment season for Medicare. You have insurance providers that are imposters. So also make sure that you are in contact with your provider so that you don't get scammed on that front as well.
Oh my God, that was great information. Anything else to add to that? Because I love that. Did you guys love that? That was much needed information.
Oh, and then I can just add to that as well. We are training bank tellers to be able to recognize if a client comes in and they're taking out a large sum of money that they normally do not take. They're also learning those tactics of how to keep them in the bank until law enforcement is called so that they can hopefully verify that this is legitimate, that people aren't taking out money under duress.
Nice. Very nice. Thank you all for that. Thank you all.
Oh, and it's $158 billion was scammed as of 2024. We don't have the numbers yet for 25 because we're not done with that. But the Federal Trade Commission has reported to ARP that last year, It was $154 billion that was scammed from us.
And you just got to think, how many of you in here have received that phone call or the text message or the email from someone you didn't know asking you to click here? Raise your hand if you've had that. So it is increasing every day, and every year it gets more, so we just got to get smarter. Now let's turn to the legal side. The Arizona Attorney General's Office recently launched an Elders Affairs Unit to prioritize stopping and preventing elder abuse and exploitation. This shows a commitment to a systematic change to protect our vulnerable citizens. Ms. Braham, could you share with our audience any recent or upcoming legislative efforts designed to strengthen protections against elder fraud here in Arizona, and how citizens and community organizations can effectively support the Attorney General's office in this initiative?
Yes, and actually the detectives set me up really well for this, because our latest win was some regulation on those cryptocurrency ATMs. And I promise, if those of you in here and online keep hearing us say this and go, I don't know what a cryptocurrency ATM is, that's a good thing. They're in gas stations, some grocery stores, and you do not need to know what they are. We've had law enforcement tell us at the Attorney General's office, they see people with the phone to their ear walking up to these cryptocurrency ATMs and putting their hard-earned money in them. So we worked with the legislator, bipartisan effort, to get some regulation passed this last legislative session on the amount of money you can do in one day in one transaction at these ATMs. It's not perfect, but it's a good step in the right direction to hopefully take some of the amounts of money that people are losing way down. And we hope to see further efforts to curtail the cryptocurrency industry, especially on these ATMs in the future. Additionally, unfortunately, right now, we're also seeing a lot of deed fraud and title fraud. That's where people will tell you they're trying to help you with something for your house. Maybe you're in foreclosure or you're refinancing or something, and they'll, through a variety of ways, essentially get you to sign over the title to your house to them. And we're hoping to work with the legislature this year to tighten up some of those loopholes so that it is not quite as easy to do that. But definitely make sure if someone reaches out to you and says something like, you're in foreclosure, let me help you, to be very, very, very skeptical of that kind of offer. Often things that are too good to be true are.
Thank you so much. Anyone else want to add to that? All right, let's go on to our next question. Are you guys excited about the information they're giving you? Are you guys learning something you didn't know before? That's the whole purpose of this, okay? The next question is for the Deputy County Attorney, Mary Harris, and Ms. Holt. Victims of elder fraud often experience not only devastating financial loss, but also significant emotional and psychological harm, sometimes catastrophic, to their well-being. According to AARP, nearly 2 in 3 victims suffer a significant health or emotional impact. Ms. Harris, from the perspective of the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, what is the process for prosecuting these complex cases, and what are the challenges in bringing justice to victims?
Hi, thank you so much for having us here today. I've worked with both of these detectives on cases, and I often have elderly victims. The challenges are really not that different from other cases in that we have to be able to pull the evidence together and present it to a jury, or we have to have the defendant take a plea. With elder victim cases, often we have individuals who, if they've had a large amount of money stolen, we have different concerns, namely if a defendant wants to return a huge chunk of money, we are more likely to give them a more lenient plea, not because they deserve it, but because we want to make sure that that elderly person gets the money back now because they need it now. Other challenges, sometimes people who are elderly, they'll start to get dementia, so we're going to lose a victim's testimony, so we have to sometimes take depositions earlier. So there are different ways that we have to pursue those cases to assure that the victim gets justice for them. And justice can look more like a more lenient sentence for the defendant to get the victim more money, because elderly people, if that's all your money, if they've taken all your money and that's what you need to live on, even though that person may appropriately go to prison, if they're willing to return $100,000, $200,000 that they've stolen for a more lenient plea, often will do that.
Wonderful. And Ms. Holt, given AARP's research on this trauma, what support systems are in place outside of the legal system to help seniors who have already been targeted begin their recovery and cope with the psychological impact?
Well, again, we have our resource center that you can call in and you can speak to someone about your issue. A lot of fraud goes unreported. So one of the things we encourage is that you call in and you talk to these specialists that can help you to walk you through it. We even have support groups because it is just that serious. There are people who are suffering depression, anxiety, some are embarrassed. They want to talk to others that are in the same, space that they are because they have lost their money. So we encourage you to do that. We can also tell you by going into various websites what frauds are taking, or scams rather, that are taking place even in your neighborhoods. We've got it down to by county. We can tell you what's the latest scam. So again, you need to speak up and don't be shy about it. And then touch other people, talk to other people. Again, if something is not right, before you make a move, talk to someone else and ask them, does this seem right? So that's some of the ways that we encourage people to try to get a handle on this situation.
And just know that we all can be victims. I have been a victim as a police officer, right? Where my credit card is being used in another state. I didn't give the information. It came from a gas station. So you just got to know that you are not alone, and everyone can experience this, and that's why we need those support systems, because it's something that when you've been violated, right, it gives that emotional impact, just so you know that, okay?
And can I speak to gift cards for a moment? Did I get you? Did I get you? Did I get you? Did I get you? Well, you still can. You still can. So ARP was defrauded of gift cards. We were. I went to Fry's. I got 4 gift cards, $100. By the time we gave those gift cards out, 0 balances. Now, you know how we tell you when you go to get them, to go to the back of the stack. Don't get them from the front, because chances are those numbers are no good. They've already been compromised. I went in the store. I got them from the back. I was still scammed. So what we recommend now is look for places that have them under lock and key. Chances are they're going to be more protected.
Or buy it from the store you want it for. A Sephora gift card from
That's
Sephora,
it.
a Fry's gift card from Fry's, etc.
Yes.
Or give them cash.
Give them cash.
Give them cash.
Okay, what I was going to add is the concept of keeping an open communication with your family. Okay, so what we do find, and I have found in many of my investigations, is I am dealing with a family member who is gratefully deep in shame. And I'm trying to walk them through and get them out of that shame and help them kind of get through this. But if they don't want to be my victim, I have a hard time moving anything forward. So if we can start talking to between your generations, and as I said, it's not just the elder side. We have scams that will target the young generation as well, but have some conversations about money. I know I grew up in an environment where we did not necessarily generationally talk about our money. Grandparents' money was money, and I didn't know anything about it. My mom didn't really give me a lot of information about my money. My children, I have probably several conversations about management, where the money is going. We are in this transaction phase that it is within seconds money moves. So I want you to keep talking. Ask mom about it, ask dad about it, ask grandkids about it, and keep that communication path going.
Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say, that is touching on that. I am always upset about how many victims feel, of all ages, because I only do financial crimes, how many people feel like it was their fault for falling for it or not being smart enough or not catching it. And that's just, you should never, ever feel ashamed of when someone takes advantage of you. It's never the victim's fault. And so many of these victims feel like they should have known better. And often, despite your best attempts, you may get defrauded. And that just happens. You should never feel guilty. You should always come forward and report it, because you'd be surprised. Most of these people have victimized other people. And the more people that come forward, sometimes just one incident we can't charge, but then when we have somebody that's done it over and over, then we can show that there's a pattern, and then we can bring those charges. So never be ashamed. All the offices have victim services people, so if you're going to be involved in a criminal case, there is a person that will be assigned to you that's going to help you come to court. They'll help you, they'll understand what the system is. You always can contact the prosecutor that's assigned to your case. So if you're ever a victim, do not feel ashamed. It happens to the best of us. I was defrauded out of a lot of money on a new roof, and I worked with the Register of Contractors. I did everything I could. In the end, they did not put a new roof on. So it happened to the best of us.
And I'm sure a bunch of us up here have kids. We're all gonna understand if you get that call that your kid is in trouble, and it is this elaborate story with the AI voices, like, we're trying to help do the prevention up here, but none of us are gonna act like we wouldn't easily fall for that if that fear is in your heart and you think something's wrong with your kid. Like, that is very real and very human, and we all understand that. Like, definitely report it and don't feel bad.
Thank you. So they've given you key tips that know that prevention is important, but know that even if you fall victim, you are not alone, and you can reach out, and they've given you information of how to fight back, okay? Let's move on to the next question, which is a joint one between Detective McGee, Detective Price, and Ms. Harris. Beyond the immediate financial and imposter scams, we've seen disturbing cases like the recent suit by the Arizona Attorney Generals against individuals involved in illegal equity stripping real estate scams targeting elderly homeowners. These scams are often hit seniors at their most vulnerable assets, their homes. What are some of the non-imposter forms, this is the question, what are some of the non-imposter forms of fraud, such as predatory lending, home repair schemes, or financial exploitation by trusted individuals that you are currently seeing? Crucially, how can seniors effectively verify a professional, business, or contractor before entering a binding agreement and granting access to personal information?
I think I'll start off. So the non-imposter forms of fraud, we're dealing with deed fraud. We're seeing a lot of that. Definitely the state is moving forward for a little more proactive approach on it. One of the things I do see is when you actually pay off that house and it no longer has a deed holder to it that they have to go through. So you spent a good part of your life paying off that house, and now it's even more risked for a fraudster to come in with one piece of paper that's fraudulent and change ownership. And then we have to fight that ownership and how that one piece of paper was a fraudulent document. So that's one thing to think about. Now, one thing on the county side, they do have a fraud alert for deeds that are in place. It's on their website. That's one avenue. The other avenue is placing it into a trust so that there's one more step that the fraudster has to play with. Okay, something to think about as far as the deeds are concerned. The other aspects, we do deal with fraudulent documents in other courts, like probate court and stuff like that, as well as we have the vulnerable adult who now has moved into where their cognitive abilities are starting to diminish, and maybe friends, maybe family are starting to take from them. So those are things that we start digging into bank accounts, but that's back to the family. Hopefully the whole family element is looking at things and kind of keeping the best interest of the person in place, but sometimes we do find that that's the full part of our investigation. In reference to home repairs, predatory lending, some of those things are not actually covered with the City of Phoenix. Some of those are covered with the ROC, the Registered of Contractors, or at the federal level. But for the second part of the question, how can you efficiently verify a business or a contractor before an agreement? There's not 100% of anything, right? But ask them for their Arizona ROC license. Do a little background on that. Do a better business review on that. Get an idea of what they look like on the internet and what they look like in their reviews before you go forward. This is one of the sites, of course, the Arizona Register of Contract has their website. It's right there, just a click away. I actually really enjoy Rosie on the House. It's just a talk show, but they have a platform. There are other companies out there that do vetting for companies, but that's one avenue, and I think you'll kind of take over for that.
When it comes to home ownership, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when something's going to go wrong, whether it's electrical, plumbing, painting, that type of things. You can look at the Better Business Bureau, see if there's some complaints there, okay? When it comes to a business that you're considering going through, look online, see what the reviews are on there, okay? One of the things I like to do is talk to friends, family members. That's huge when you can actually speak with someone and they're going to tell you, hey, avoid this company, or hey, I had, good luck working with this company. So those are just some things. Like Detective McGee touched upon, you're not going to make yourself fully exempt from everything, but there's just some steps that you can take to mitigate the risk of potentially becoming a victim. So say you've decided on, hey, I'm going to go with this business, okay? When it comes time for payment, okay, use a credit card as an idea as opposed to paying cash, okay? Because that's going to be the bank's money, okay? Keep that in mind as opposed to using your debit card, okay? You can have some recourse, so using a credit card. Never give them all of the payment up front, okay? Do it in percentages, in portions. Hey, you've done this part, okay, I'll give you a little bit of it. I'm not going to give you the whole thing. You run the risk of them just ghosting you and like, hey, I gave them 10 grand for the entire project. They only finished, say, 2,000 grand worth, and they're gone. I can't get them over the phone. I can't get them via email, text. So keep that in mind. So be a little apprehensive if they come to you and say, oh yeah, hey, it's going to be the entire cost of the project. No, I'm looking somewhere else, okay? So keep that in mind. But like I said, there's some things that you can do to just kind of mitigate it. Another form of payment is by check, okay? Be cautious of that as well, because we touched upon it at the very beginning of the presentation. Potentially become a victim of identity theft when it comes to checks. Because as you know, when you issue that check, you give it to someone, that's going to have the routing number and that's going to have your bank account number. They can take that information, go get some check stock, and run off a bunch of checks, okay? I'm not saying every contractor out there is not on the up and up, but you just want to be cautious, okay? So those are just some ideas, like you said, to kind of mitigate and hopefully reduce your chances of becoming a victim.
And dovetailing on that, with the Arizona Register of Contractors, you can look that contractor up on that site. There's a link to just see whether or not you have a registered contractor. For almost any home repair you're going to do, they should be registered. A lot of people use people that are not registered, and those are the people that tend to just take money and run. Even if somebody has that, ROC number on their card, that does not mean that they are actually registered. You want to take that extra step, and you want to go to the Register of Contractors and run that number. If you use registered contract, that doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect, because it's just a business. But there's also, if you have used a registered contractor, there are resources at the ROC for victim funds and things like that if you have issues related to the work done that are not available to you if you use an unregistered contractor. There is what's called a handyman exception in Arizona, and that's $1,000. So if you're paying for work for your house, for any plumbing, anything that's going to be over $1,000, they need to be a registered contractor. And remember, you get what you pay for often when you get this stuff done. People will get a bunch of estimates and they pick the lowest one, and you got to ask yourself, why is it that they are coming in at less than half of all the other ones? So just do your homework, and they have a lot of good information on the Register of Contractors. If they've had complaints, those will be on that site as well.
And also take note of some of the communication that you have when you decide to go through a particular business, meaning like the text messages. You might text back and forth. Well, when are they going to show up today? What work is going to be performed? You can take a screenshot. You can have documentation of that communication back and forth. You can take photographs of the work that is being done as it progresses. Because oftentimes you'll have a general contractor, but then you might have, he or she might dispatch out, a plumber, someone to do demolition and everything. That contractor, general contractor, might not come out to your house to oversee that. The plumber might be out there doing that. So take documentation. Hey, this is what was done, so that if the general contractor comes back and says, well, no, this was done on this date. No, I have documentation. I have photographs showing what was done on which date. So it's always a good idea to keep some documentation that you can fall back on. Who you spoke to, when you spoke to them, that type of thing.
And I kind of mentioned cash was my preference on the last little question that we had. This one, not so much. I would definitely suggest payment with a cashier's check. So it's not your check. You're going to the bank. You have a transaction that comes out of your bank. That is the payment. That's a record that we use if we have to investigate. And then you have a cashier's check that you can see it was issued to someone and it was cashed. That's just another way to give some protection.
Thank you, thank you. Now, we want to hear from you. For the next 15 minutes, we're opening up the floor for questions from the audience. Please raise your hand and a microphone will be brought to you. Please state your question clearly and we'll direct it to the most appropriate panelists. We ask that you keep your questions concise so that we can get as many as possible. And then we're going to come back to that final question. I'm not going to forget it. All right? So we have two people. If you have a question, we have a question back here in the green, and you have one over here in the black.
I'm so happy somebody asked about cashier's check because I have a great thing to pay a lot of stuff with cashier's check. So can you give me a little bit more on using a cashier's check, please?
So the cashier's check is just through your banking institute. So you'll see your withdrawal to cover the cashier's check, or you're providing cash at your bank. But the cashier's check is going through the bank's accounting, not your bank. So when you turn over a cashier's check, it has the bank's routing number on it, not yours. So when we talk about if a check was actually washed or fraudulently issued, you're not giving out your bank account, you're actually giving out the bank's bank account.
Wonderful, thank you for that question. Next.
I'd like to address third-party vendors. When it comes down to concert tickets or either renting a car, there are third-party vendors that once you go pick up the car, you're not able to get the car because you paid a third-party vendor or concert ticket. So how do you handle situations like that?
On that, I try to avoid that and actually go directly through. Like, I personally run into it traveling, making plane tickets. I've experienced, instead of going through Expedia or some of those other sites like that, I try to go directly through the airline itself and everything. So that's an example of that. Like if I'm renting a car, Hertz, Avis, I would probably do the same thing to kind of avoid that.
I'd say renting a car, you get what you pay for it too. Some of the ones that are half the price are half the price for a reason.
The third-party vendor that I used, it said that it was budget, but it really wasn't budget. It had budget name on the site, but when I got to the airport to get the car, they said, oh, you went through a third-party vendor, and this one is fraudulent, and I'm sorry. So, and it was $579. So I did have to go through some channels to get them to return the money back to me from my bank, but sometimes they're in disguise.
Yeah, so for my personal, I guess, experience, what I do when I do get a third party, before I start my travel, I will actually call each of my reservations and make sure we're on track. That's one, so that I can maybe get ahead of the problem, besides, arriving in my destination and not having a rental car. The other issue is, as you said, I think you went through a couple different things to get your money back. We really kind of push the concept of using a credit card because you have consumer protections with a credit card that you don't always have with your bank card. And you might have to kind of go through a couple extra steps to get through a refund on a fraudulent transaction with the bank. So when I travel, I do use my credit card solely, and then unfortunately, I do take that extra step to check my reservations before I head out.
Yes, I have more of a comment than a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I've been almost scammed badly twice. I got a phone call. No, I got a voicemail text, and it said that to call this number and have some very important information to give you. And so I know, maybe I shouldn't have ever called, but I called. And they said, congratulations, you have won $2.5 million from what's that place? Publishers Clearinghouse. So I said, I said, so how do I get the money, They said, well, there are a few steps you have to take. they said, I want you to go to your bank and get $500 and then go to Walgreens and get one of those little red gift cards and send the money to me. And I said, I don't understand that. Why do I have to go get some money? I said, if I want that kind of money, just if there's a fee, take it out of the money. You know?
Yeah, can we give her a hand? That's a smart lady.
You know, I said, if there's a fee and I want $2.5 million, you have everything in your hands. So I said, so take it out. So I just left. That one didn't get anywhere. This has happened 3 times now. So the second time, he said the same thing. Congratulations, you. I said, sir, please hang up. I said, because I'm going to hang up. I said, because I have not won in $2.5 million. So in between getting the first one and the second one, I did a little research myself. And I asked, how do you, if you win money from Publishers Clearinghouse, how do you get it? And they said that only one way, so you nobody will call you. We will arrive at your door and you have no knowledge of it. It'll be totally complete surprise. So you don't have to worry, you'll never get a phone call. So I did get a phone call later. And he said basically the same thing, but he did it backwards. He said, you've won $2.5 million from Publishers Clearinghouse, and I'm gonna put $500 in your bank account. And I want you to go get it and send it back to me. I said, why? You know, what are you doing? But you know, the brain and $2.5 million is deep, and you just thinking, suppose this is really real, you know? So I played that game with him. He sent the $500 to my account, and I went and got it and sent it back. Went to Walgreens and got that little card and sent it back to him. And then the next step, I'm putting $1,400 into your account, and I want you to go and get that and send it back to me. So I was at the bank. I mean, I was really involved in it. I mean, I was really going. I was going to get this money. And so I went and got I was getting the $1,400. The bank officer saw me, and we made contact at the same time. I was about to ask this gentleman a question, and he was about to ask me, could he help me? So I told him what was going on. And he said, I know you know that's a scam. You know, he said, why would you let it get this far? And I said, well, I haven't lost any money yet. Nobody has, you know, taken any money from me. I said, but I know something is wrong. So the bank officer went into my account and looked at it and asked me to have a seat. He said, every month you have transactions that you did not do, and you call and we put the money back into your bank. He said, I think, Ms. Mangrum, we're gonna have to close your account. He said, we can't have your business. I said, well, sir, I haven't done anything. I'm just, you know, I said, I'm just trying to do what I'm asked and to see if it's really a game, you know. So he sat me down and he talked a long time. In the meantime, he closed my account. He got the $500. He got the $1,400. And at that time, I only had $875 of my money in the account. This was a checking account. So it got stopped when he said, I'm going to close your account. He said, we can't have your business. And I said, I just don't understand, what have I done wrong? And the more I think about it.
Can I interrupt for one moment?
Okay.
Because I absolutely love your story, because you're speaking to a lot of people who need to hear your story. But in the interest of time, because we only have this church for a little bit, we're going to take one more question. I'm sorry. One more question before we have to round this out. And I want to personally hear the rest of your story. Okay?
Hi. Thank the panel for being here. I have a business of Ford trucks. I have a trucking business.
Can you speak a little louder?
I have a trucking business. Thank you for being here today. I lease my trucks through Ryder. What is the thing as far as I get a bill every other day from Ryder, anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000.
They're still having a hard time hearing you.
I lease my trucks.
Okay,
What do you think about the lease business? I lease my trucks through Ryder. I have a trucking business. I think something is going on fraudulent. I get bills every 3 days.
Bills for what?
Bills in regards to my trucks. I have 4 trucks. 4 trucks. And I just think something is going on fraudulent within Ryder.
Okay, so the invoices, the bills that you're getting are coming from Ryder? Because you said that you lease your trucks to Ryder so that they can use them?
Let me put, for example, I pay a weekly bill. I paid a bill yesterday of about $4,000. By midnight last night, I already got another bill for $7,000.
So maybe we can get with you afterwards. It sounds like we have a whole bunch of details that we might not get to right here. But yeah, definitely grab us after the presentation. We can get you a little more detail.
Feel free to report it to my office as well, especially if you have the bills. Send them in with your complaint, and they'll see if they can track it down.
And last question. We have to
yes,
round
I
it
just
out.
have a quick question about property owners that sell the properties to renters. They make you create a new profile, and then it said click on and add your debit checking account information for your rent profile. And I'm just trying to figure out, is that a scam? Because we received a letter on our door saying that there was new owners, and the previous owners didn't tell us that they sold the property, and now these new owners want us to create a new profile that we're not aware of. I've never heard of the company.
So there's a lot of little details still on that one too, but the concept of their business operation, it could be very, very valid that they want to do a pay point, but I would take some steps to find out if indeed the home has been sold. You can look at the county recorder for that and kind of see if indeed the deed has changed and you have new landlords, I guess the word would be, or reach out to your old landlords and do some verification. With just that, I would proceed with a little bit of caution and do a little more research.
And use the number that you've had previously that you've used to reach out and contact the previous landlord, as opposed to taking a number from them, because that could just lead you to an imposter where they could try to sell you on the validity of their operation.
Okay, wonderful. And I know you have been standing there and waiting, and we're going to take your question. Okay, but this will be the last one.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I have mentioned I have been scammed. I'm grateful to be in a church like this, that I have people that I can trust. And my banking system looks out for me. Wouldn't pay my taxes. I didn't have any money. There was a PayPal scam that initiated from California. They bounced it back, but God is good. the lady, they had to call into the main corporation and they put my money back in. So now I'm being bombarded with all of these calls, with all of this stuff, and I'm 80 years old. That is a lot of stress trying to navigate your credit and everything. And so the young lady, she always comes, known her all of her life. She's a banker. I said, baby, why are they targeting me? Because I don't have any money. She said, Mother, what is your credit score rating? I have 1 point away from an 8 credit score rating. And everybody is scamming. So I'm going back to the bank. The bank has got everything flagged. And if I get anything out of the norm, they are taking care of it. This morning, got something for a phone from T-Mobile saying that I had bought a phone. I clicked on it, and it's in Mexico. So what do you do when your credit rating is good and you don't have any money?
So, I'm not going to answer your question directly. If one of them wants to, they can. I'm going to tell you that unfortunately, whether your credit score is high or low, whether you have $1 million or 10, every company you interact with, Netflix, Amazon, Google, Gmail, they are selling your data. They're selling all of your information, and I'm so sorry to tell you there's no stopping it. There is nothing you can do. I have no solutions, so I'm so sorry. Only answer the phone when you know the caller, only open emails you were expecting, and only answer text message when you know who they're from and you were expecting a text message.
Thank you.
Thank you again to our phenomenal panelists. Your dedication to justice and protection of our community is truly inspiring. Please join me in one final, strong round of applause for their expertise. At this point, yes. Thank you. At this point, I will hand the mic back to Dr. Morrison to cover our final acknowledgments, resources, and an exciting raffle.
Can you give our moderator, Ms. Hampton, a hand? Well done. Thank you for a very critical and important conversation. Thank you for staying, and thank you for those participating virtually. We know that there was great and useful information that was delivered on today, and this is a critical time for us to continue learning how to protect our assets. So we would like to first thank all of our vendors. We had 8 amazing vendors that were next door sharing educational information. Thank you to each and every one of our vendors. We appreciate your presence. We appreciate you educating our community. We would also like to again thank our panel for their time and their expertise. Don't leave. And I know that there were questions that we didn't get to. Ladies and gentlemen, every question is important, and we are going to give you a set of resources on today where you can share your questions, your stories, and your concerns. We have a little card that we want you to leave with some critical resources to help equip you to protect you and to protect your assets. So we have that for you as you leave today. We also have an evaluation. Thank you. That's our resources. We have that. Don't worry. We have that in written form for you. We also have an evaluation. There's a QR code. If you take your phone, if you're techie, if you're not, I've got you too. But if you are technically eligible or interested, you can use your phone. You can hover with your camera. That will take you to a landing page where you can give us an evaluation. We want to hear from you to know, did we meet your needs? How can we better serve you? Because we are going to continue these conversations. We're going to do some virtual efforts in the future as well. So we would love to hear from you and what you thought about today's presentation. I would also like to thank the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta, the committees of social action, the Committee on Social Action, and the Committee on Economic Development, the ladies who have been serving you all day. Can you help me give them a hand? Ladies, you can wave at us. Thank you so much. We want to especially thank our partners, AARP, Ms. Brenda Holt, one of our premier partners on today. Thank you to AARP. A special thank you to Pilgrim Rest. Pilgrim Rest always shows up, always about the community. Thank you, Pilgrim Rest. And thank you to the Pilgrim Rest Seniors Ministry for your participation and your commitment today. Dr. Murphy, on behalf of their leaders, thank you so much to the Pilgrim Seniors. You were in the house. And we also want to thank ABLE, the Arizona Black Law Enforcement Group. Thank you for your presence, your participation, financial sponsorship. We really appreciate you. You have something? Please. All right, so thank you. So we're going to, don't worry about the QR code that we put up there. We actually have paper copies of the evaluations. They were being handed out. So we're going to do that instead of using the QR code. We're going to direct you to that paper form. So we have surveys for you. You can fill them out. We've got pens. It'll only take you a moment. And you can leave those for us at a table in the rear. Thank you so much for that. Last but not least, we have a raffle. We said, hey, if you go to all the tables, we've got you. We've got an Amazon gift card with your name on it. Come on, who doesn't shop there, right? So I'm going to go through here. We know that there were tons of you. Thank you for visiting our vendors and learning. But I have a gift card, and it is a real gift card. I verified it myself. So I know the money's there. All right, so I'm going in. Oh, don't look. All right, and the winner is Mr. Phil, is it Dunnigan? Okay. Oh, Phil, I just met you today. Congratulations. Thank you. You are the winner of our raffle prize. So we will see you. Okay, the wife. He said it's my wife. He's a smart man, right? He said, give it to her. So we want to thank you. We have a special gift for you. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our presentation. Ms. Kenyosha Skinner, are we good? All right. On behalf of Ms. Kenyosha Skinner, Delta Sigma Theta, Tempe Alumni Chapter, and all of our sponsors, thank you so much for participating on today. Take care. We will see you at our next iteration. Take care and thank you. Get home safely. Drive carefully.